Okay, so there has been an overwhelming amount of comments on our 55 and C10's patina, how everybody hates the patina and we should paint the tracks. We should spend $15,000 on each one of those builds and paint them to a beautiful color.
Disgusting!
I already did that to the Silverado and I don't want to do it again. And I also realized that it's been a while since we had a Silverado update. Now, I've done a lot of stuff in the background and just picking away at it because that's what I do. And it's time to get you guys all caught up on the Silverado. Here we go. So Silverado was like, why does the Ford get a bus engine? I want a bus engine. We're gonna put a bus engine in Silverado. We're gonna bend lines around a dual plenum intake, if I can make that work. Oh, you think you're so close. Get this P pump, 24 valve, ready to go. Let's do it. That is a beautiful, beautiful piece of art. I love it. Oh, just like a brand new truck. So as you guys know, we have multiple projects going on at the same time. And that actually works really well for me. I kind of get to bounce around while I'm waiting for parts and whatnot. And what it means to you guys is sometimes you think I forgot about a project or abandoned a project. I absolutely have not abandoned any projects, including my 05 Silverado with the Cummins swap. This one has the beautiful paint job. We've spent countless hours on it. Why would I abandon it? I've been working on it in the background between all the projects, and this is accumulation of all of that work. And just a quick plug for our Fender Covers. This is the perfect vehicle to cover up that really nice paint job. So we got the Fender Covers, they're available on our website, so go check them out along with the rest of our merch. And as a little egg teaser video, you get to look at what is in the background and try to place on when I was actually working on this truck as to what's in the background. Engine, states of the build. Anyway, let's get into it. Here we go. All right, boys, there's the new truck and there's the old truck. That's long rotted away, but there's a couple parts that I need off of that. Power windows, the glass, the mirrors, the seats. And then my dad has a regular cab long box that was condemned because the frame rotted away, but he always had it parked inside. I don't understand why. I think they just wanted to sell him a new truck. But we'll be using that truck on the dyno at Scott's, and we'll be playing with some tuning that way. We're gonna take the wiring harness and everything off of that one yet, but going to put a Holley Terminator Max on it so we can get better at tuning, better for the Audi. But in the meantime, we're gonna strip this one as far as I can and then throw it outside before the mice get to it anymore. So here we go. Okay, before we move the glass and the power windows and the power locks over, I'm gonna put some more Be Quiet in the door. Same stuff that we use in the F350. And a couple tips from you guys. If you spray a little WD-40 on your knife blade, it cuts way nicer, and I can verify that, yes, that does work a lot better. I'm gonna clean the door off and then just start on a nice straight edge, probably like this wham bar, work our way down and up, and then put all the guts back in it again so we can park this thing outside. Here we go. Okay, you want to try and get as much of the wrinkles out as possible. Take your time and do whatever it takes to get it done. It's easy to work with. You can pull it off and then pull it back on again. It's still super sticky. What we don't want is the water to get in behind the seal here on the window and then run down and rust. Keep in mind that the whammy bar is glued in. That's a stop right there, but you want to make sure that you also keep the drains open for the water to come out underneath. This is really good for the speaker. The music sounds better when it's not so tinny, and it just looks so much better. So when you close the door, it has a nice solid thunk now, even though I'm not going to do it because I have the GoPro there. And if you're wondering, Rich, well, how do you know? It's because I already did that whole door. So I'm going to put all the glass and stuff in there, and then we'll go from there. All right, we got the doors all put together, glass, so at least I can start parking this thing outside. And look at that, look at that. Oh, just like a brand new truck. The old one was wore pretty good. Actually wore holes in the, wore the holes oval. So even replacing the bushings didn't do anything. Painted the intercooler and the AC compressor and then the rad support. So we'll throw that in and then, yeah, one step closer. We'll put the whole front assembly on and then go from there. Here we go. Got another big shipment from Summit. It's awesome when they have absolutely everything you could possibly want for any vehicle, really. So we got a new Hydro Boost so that I can put the old Hydro Boost on the tank for my Silverado. I got a new master just because all the other brakes are new. Summit has their own line of radiators now, so we got a brand new radiator for the Duramax. That'll fit in the front grille, and then I've got the pipes to hook everything up to the Cummins. And then we got some new lights as well, only because the other ones were all foggy and crappy looking, and I couldn't really clean them up and make them look decent. So these will look nice with kind of the halo look. So seen a couple of them online. The reviews seem to be good, and so we're gonna pop them on. I could put the stuff away somewhere, but truck's just right outside, so we'll just install it as we go. There we go. Okay, so in the last couple episodes, we redid the injection lines, did some work on the truck, but while I'm waiting on these parts, I figure I'll make a new inventory list for the stuff that I'm missing on this. So I had to steal one of the intake boots for the C10 from Power Driven Diesel. It goes from 2.5 to 3, so we'll order a couple more of those. And I'm not sure what's going on with the AFC live here. There's a couple parts I might have to order on that yet. I'm not sure what Power Driven did when they rebuilt this pump. We got that full video on them rebuilding this pump, so you know exactly what happened in here. But it's just plunked on for now temporarily while we were figuring out the injection lines. The compressor isn't solid. I'm going to take that off and bolt that on properly. I stole the power steering pump for this one to try and make it fit on the Cat, but it spins backwards. There must be an extra gear or one less. I think there's an extra gear in the timing cover for the Cat, so this actually spun backwards. And then we're gonna install this billet timing cover, which we got off Amazon, I think. And actually, it's a really nice quality one. The O-ring fits really nice in there. It's a one piece, and the O-rings are all in place. So really happy with that one. We're gonna put our freeze plugs in there, which are not really freeze plugs, they're core plugs. Because when we built one with Woody and Al from the skid factory, I think one of his frost plugs popped out, which is really annoying. So learn from other people's mistakes, which was my mistake in a previous build, and take care of that on this one. I did add a coolant bypass on this, and I just did it quickly just to see if it would fit on the firewall, and I think it does. With all my engines actually in our vehicles, I've got my free Princess Auto engine stand that is now a nice little remote table that we can work around with. It's time to finish this old girl up. So I'm gonna start by pulling the injection pump off and the compressor off, the intake off again, and we'll do the billet cover and all the little loose ends. We'll show you guys how to time the injection pump. We got this this gear from Power Driven Diesel, which is now keyed because I've had injection pumps with the timing gear like slide on it when you start loading it up, and hopefully we can get it in the truck and fire it up for the first time. So enough yapping, here we go. I was gonna grab a block heater for this thing,
And then I remembered it's not a power stroke. It doesn't need to be plugged in. It has 2 grid heaters and it will start without the use of a glow plugs or a grid heater or a glow. It'll just run because it's a Cummins. Okay, so this is why we do what we do, because we managed to get this on there for the alternator. Missing the thermostat and the O-ring for that. That's not a big deal, that just plugs on there and bolts down. That's fine. But I'm also missing the O-ring for this guy and the outlet for the rad hose right there. So, looking around the shop, can't find it, so we'll order that. So, I got another shop in town that might be able to have one of those for me. It's been a while since I worked on Cummins. Anyway, now that I know I can order that, we'll go on to this side. We'll put the pump on it. That looks really pretty. I'll make a housing for this and cover that up. The mount and the oil drain, I think it's the oil drain for the compressor goes through here. So I gotta knock that frost plug out, but I can't do that until I take it off of my Princess Auto stand. Now this thing is just trying hard. This thing is just sweating, holding this engine up. It's not supposed to go. The only way it would hold it is if you hold it sideways. There's no way I could hold it lengthwise. But this poor little girl's been holding this for 1.5 years, and it's gonna take a big sigh of relief when it's off. Nice thing is about not this temperature. Oh, that's oil. So I'm gonna pull that out and put in a Holley sensor, and I can run the RPM off of this sensor. I just got to find the wiring harness with the plug in it, and then boost sensor right there, if that's a 3 plug, and I think it is. So I can run the boost plug and the temperature all off of the sensors from the Cummins, because I was going to try and make the old dash work, but I love those Holleys so much. I'm gonna get Aaron to design a really nice dash for it, and then you guys can get that on the website and run it with one of our custom dashes. Then speedometer's all figured out, and then we can start doing boost and all of that on our dash rather than having the tripods on the pillar there. So we'll keep carrying on. Here we go. Okay, so on the injection pump, we got power driven diesel. Went over everything that they did on this pump, but they didn't talk about the AFC Live. So what that does is get rid of the fuel plate in here and modify the foot here so that you can use a controller inside your cam to control the fueling. There's a few things you got to do to this upper housing here, and I wasn't sure if they did that or not, so I thought I'd take a look and see what was going on. Basically, if you want full fuel, you need to take this foot out and to shave a hair, about 1/8 of an inch off the back of this paddle to give you full fuel. Now I told them I was only aiming for 400 or 500 horsepower because I didn't want to destroy my beautiful track. So I don't think they shaved this foot off, and that's what I did. I started with that. There's a couple other modifications to do to this thing as well though. In here there's a spring, and in their kit their spring is about a little bit longer than the stock spring, and that's so that it doesn't bind up and it's got full travel. So what you do is you put the star adjuster all the way back and rely on this spring and the air pressure that you're putting up against the diaphragm to control your smoke, and you can do that within the cab. So I took this off, and they already have the spring in there. They've got, I can show you the spring here. So there's the spring. You can see the spring, that's bigger than the stock spring. And when I took that Allen out, I could tell that the star adjuster was all the way at the back. So they've already modified this, but that wasn't on the video. And I can't really modify it because it's already done. So I do recommend that if you're thinking about AFC Live, to definitely check out their install video. It's very well done. And they also have AFC Live on the dyno with stock application. I think they went from 180 horse on a stock 12 valver to I think 300, just about double. 180 was like 370 or something like that. So it was pretty well pretty well double. I think they hit 800 or 900 foot-pounds of torque. So that's crazy. That's plenty, and that's with stock injectors. We have 100 horse injectors in here, and we've got compounds. So I don't think we need to take this apart and shave that foot off. We can later if I get the itch, but why not do it stock? We'll leave it alone for now. So I'm gonna put this back on the pump, button that up for the last time. I think there was 2 screws missing. That's why I was wondering what was going on. So, well, that's because the fuel plate goes there, and that's why those 2 screws are missing. So I think the pump is good. I think we are all set, ready to go. We're gonna put this pump back on again. We gotta lube it up. The lube comes back through a hole in here, back in the timing cover, but we also need to lube up the compressor. So the compressor gets lubed here as well, and then drains out into here and then into this thing. So now I can clean this thing up and paint it. So that looks good. And then replace the O-ring. The furrow is probably fine. It's still soft. I should replace that. I'm gonna get a new furrow for that. And then we can either do a T here. Oh, phone's ringing. We can do a T on this oil plug, or I can run another line from here. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do, but I'm gonna answer this phone call. So, okay, here we go. Am I? This doesn't really matter. No, I'm not gonna tee off of here. I'm gonna pull another fitting out of there, because if I tee on there, okay, so here's the deal. I already made this hose. This hose goes from here to here, I think. Or does it? Maybe it doesn't. Maybe this hose is wrong. It is wrong. There's no, oh no, that'll work. No, it won't, because it hits my bracket. Okay, so more important than this hose will tell you if there's something wrong, that you're gonna leak oil and you're gonna shut the truck off if there's a problem. This bracket though is very important, because this bracket supports the back of your pump. If you don't support the back of your pump, your timing cover is gonna crack. But that's not gonna tell you right away. That will tell you on the road, somewhere later down the road, and you're gonna be really upset. You're like, oh, I can't believe I forgot that. But now my fitting hits my pump here. So if I can make my hose that I made a long time ago, and I can't remember why. The problem is you can't orientate these 90s. So that has to go to there. If I can make this fit, then I will get another hose to come from here and go to the compressor. But otherwise, I have to notch this bracket to fit this line here so that I can feed the compressor. So many things to think about. But anyway, before we do anything else, before we time it, I gotta make sure that this is supported properly. And now that doesn't get in the way of my bracket supporting my compressor, because otherwise the compressor is going to fall off. Aye. So herein lies the problem, because that still goes right over top of my hole. So then I can't get my bracket on. If I can get my bracket on, I can't get my fitting on. So we're back to the T, notching the bracket, and then going from there. And now the next problem, the compressor hits that line. Isn't that fantastic? Good thing I didn't modify that bracket yet. Okay, so I think my only option is to move it from this port to this port. Then I can put my compressor here over top of my bracket, which is hidden. And then with the compressor on, I can still reach all of these ports and hook up oil lines. If anything, I can still plug into this one, because I got a whole row of fittings here, and then run that over to the compressor. But we want to keep it as neat as possible. There we go. Okay, so I had the bolts for the back of the intake, but because we've got our spacer underneath, these ones aren't long enough, so I gotta order 4 bolts that are long enough. My intake is just hitting the line right there, but once I add the 2 other gaskets, which are coming, along with the gasket for this, should raise it up enough. I should just be clear. Otherwise, I think I can rotate this just a hair and push that down a hair. But that is the injection pump. Let's get into the timing gear. Okay, we're gonna time the pump. Basically, we gotta get the engine up to top dead center. You can check that with the valves, top dead center number 1. So you can check that with your valves up top. We've got our timing marks right here. So we know that we're close to top dead center. You can be off a little bit. If you're 12 valve and a 12 valve cam, you can pin the camshaft and you're exactly at top dead center. But this is the 24 valve cam, and I did that because the lobes are actually just a little bit wider, and that's because there's more load on the lobe, because now we're opening 2 valves instead of 1 off of each lobe. So you get the pump back and it is timed. So you pull this cover off here, and there's a little flag in there, and that flag is grabbing, there's a little fork and it grabs a flag inside the injection pump. So now we know that the injection pump is timed to whatever the manufacturer wanted that pump timed at. So with the engine at top dead center, this is probably 12 or 14 degrees before top dead center. Even though there's a slot for the keyway in the pump, there's no keyway. That must be an agricultural setup or something, because the on-road trucks are just a tapered shaft on the gear, and that gear sometimes slips on it. And when it slips, it makes it a no fire. It's not like you lose power. It's like you're not moving. So you have to take the pump off, pop the pump off, the gear off the pump, sorry. Change your timing, limp it back home again, and set your timing again. It's kind of a pain. I've been there. So a good solution to that, really cool, is this adjustable timing gear from Power Driven Diesel. So what it is now you utilize a keyway, and the back half of this drive is always stuck to the injection pump. But what's cool is you don't need to worry what your timing is. Well, we're not going to, because we're going to go to the dyno anyway, but these holes are slotted, so we can change your timing. And it only changes, I think, 16 or 20 degrees, but what happens is these holes are not even. So as you go, one is hitting the end of the slot and the other 2 are not quite there yet. So if we go, it is this one is hitting the slot, so we can't go any farther. So all you do is take these 2, the opposing bolts out, and then you can rotate farther until you hit the next slot. So you can see that now we can rotate it farther. So we just put these bolts back into these slots now. And now it's these bolts that are in the end of the slot. We can't turn any farther, so you can take those out and you can turn another 16 degrees or whatever. So now we can rotate that much more. So that's really cool. I love that setup. That's a really cool idea. And if your pump timing does slip on this, you only ever go to whatever your narrowest slot is. So probably not more than 10, 15 degrees. You got nice big flanges on the heads, so they grab nice and tight. I'm really excited to use this, and now that we've got access to a dyno, to be able to play with whatever numbers we think we can get. So the only issue with this is that I cannot adjust it with my timing cover. That is as is. So we've got a small little hole here. I can only see the center of this. So I need to modify this or buy a billet cover. The billet covers are not cheap, and we painted this to match, so I'll probably try and do something with this here. But this is why we're doing it now, because it's one of those afterthoughts. Oh yeah, well, by the way, you can't get at this to change it, even though it's changeable. Anyway, let's throw this gear on and go from there. Okay, so I figured out what I'm gonna do with the cover, but I have to order a couple hole saws, which will make things easier. So for now, I am going to put the front cover on there and make sure I have all the pieces for the alternator, tensioners, order my belt, all that fun stuff. I'm not going to put the front main seal on just yet. We'll do just only because I'm going to modify the cover, and I don't want shavings and stuff getting stuck in there. So we're going to throw the cover on just for now. I'm not going to put the gasket on here yet either, because without the rad, and like the rad support will come right off. And it's basically like it's sitting on the stand, except it's in the truck. So we're gonna carry on, just while it's easier, just walking around, finishing up all the loose ends. I got the hoses made at V&R, but I only ever put one end on there, and then I go back and get it, because originally I was gonna bring this behind the compressor, but it actually gets hotter at the back there. There's more open air here. And now instead of a 45, I'm going to use a 90. So I'm going to run back there, get them to I get them to crimp one end, and then clock the next fitting, and then we're good. That's all set. At the same time, we've got our temperature sensor, which is a stock Dodge one, I believe. It bolted right in. That'll work with the Holly. And then we've got boost. Actually, this is a pressure sensor, and that's the same size, same fitting as what's in the normal. It's these fittings that in these Holly pressure sensors, but the oil sensor is only a one plug, so I have to go to V&R and get them to make it so I can put this into an O-ring boss. I'm sure they have the fitting for that. Okay, so for my water jacket, I was missing the coupler that goes off on the side there. So I asked my buddy from Screaming Diesel, you got anything kicking around? Lots of 24 valvers kicking around now because the injection pumps are getting hard to find. So luckily he had this and he pointed this to me and goes, well, it's a one piece. And then I said, no, I just need the 3-part that goes on here. But then I saw, oh yeah, that's got the mount for the AC compressor on the bottom, and I do want that. So yeah, I'll take the whole thing. So bought that off of them, splashed some paint on it, a little bit of Rust-Oleum primer and paint, black. And now we got the mount for the tensioner, which I still have to paint, but I'm gonna throw this on. Thanks, Andrew. I don't have the gasket for this yet. That's coming tomorrow, but like I said, I just wanna make sure that I have all the bolts and everything. Okay, so this is the alternator that was off the school bus, and it looks brand spanking new actually. So the only thing is it's kind of out of place because I think I need to take the housing apart and paint it. But the mount from the school bus matches with the mount from the Dodge Ram truck. So I just need to drill this hole, bring it a little closer, and then figure out my fan belt. So if I go around here to the back side, and then there, and then around and up like that, that might work. But that is about it. Oh, and then the AC compressor too. Yeah. Oh yeah. So AC compressor. Oh yeah. Oh, I'll figure it out. I half bus, half. I don't know if this one's right. I think whatever. We'll figure it out. Otherwise, I get Vince to clock it. There's no problem. Vince is awesome. So I think that's about it. The only thing really left is the power steering pump and the starter. I'm gonna make this plate yet, but I see the weak part on the stand, and it's that it's not as straight as it used to be. That is screaming for the last year. Why are you doing this to me? I don't think I want to put any more weight on this because that is the max amount of weight. So we've got our, oh, and one other thing that's coming is this jacket is pointing right up at here. So actually on Rock Auto, I found a fitting that comes nicely out and turns, and then it'll go around and go right to the radiator here. So that's perfect. And then I just got to figure out this jacket, make sure that that's the right size. Otherwise I'll have to adapt that or something. We'll figure something out. But that is it. I'll see if I've got an old AC compressor kicking around so I can get the fan belt coming. But she's pretty. I like it, and I forgot to order my oil fill cap. So I will get that coming, but that is a beautiful, beautiful piece of art. I love it. Here we go. Okay, so that's it. As far as I can take it on the stand, next thing I need to fit it in the truck. There's a couple things I changed from before. Even though my mounts and that are all right, I did add a coolant bypass on the back. So what that does is take coolant from your water pump and bring it directly to the back of your engine. We added a lot of horsepower, and the issue with that is this cylinder will get hot. So now we're bringing extra coolant back here. The thing is, most people don't have a giant air compressor on there, which we do. And if you're wondering why we have an air compressor, you gotta stick around longer. The F-350's got one, and we're gonna incorporate air brakes into our trailer just for theft deterrent. So I need to have a good compressor on there. The compressor gets hot, so it has coolant coming in and out of it as well.
So we need to get coolant to the heater core and to our compressor and to the back of the engine. So if we follow the routing here, the water comes out here out of our lower rad hose, and that would typically just go to your heater core and then come back into the engine somewhere and feed the engine in. What we're gonna do is take it from here, make a nice hose, go over to the other side so it comes out of the engine, goes into our compressor, comes out of the compressor, and then goes into our heater core, and then from the heater core back into the engine. And the engine, it ends up, I see right here, that is my coolant passage for my return for the coolant. So now that I'm looking, I'm like, why are we dumping coolant in here when it's just coming in here anyway from the compressor and the heater core? So I think I'll leave it alone if this fits against the firewall. If I don't have enough room on the firewall, I might reconsider this. It would be better to have this maybe on the side here and have it sticking into the back cylinder right here, and then at least we've got some coolant, or maybe even this middle one. The middle one would be ideal, and then we've got coolant coming into the back of the head and to the side of the block, but we won't know that until I throw it in the truck. So as pretty as it is right now, I'm worried that my poor little Princess Auto stand is going to collapse if we move. So I'm going to start taking some stuff back off again. We're going to pull the cab off the truck, and then the cherry picker should be good enough to pick this thing up and put it in. That cherry picker picked up an 8.3 Cummins, so it should be fine lifting this. It's only like $15,000. Here we go. Okay, so I had to modify this mount just to fit the power steering pump. I just had to take a little notch off there, and that covers up the drain and the mount for the power steering pump. But I can put the drain into the dipstick hole. I think I'm okay with that, and then use this rear dipstick hole for my proper hole. Anyway, I think I can drop it in. Here we go. Okay, so this is the hole that I needed to access my timing gear, and I needed to make something like this, a little hat, a little groove in the back that I can bolt through the outside here, and then have a cover to bolt to this. Now, to get there, I found this pulley that was nice and meaty, but I needed to get the center section out of it, which is this piece. That's where it actually bolted onto. Now, I'm a little embarrassed because the way to get at that, I just took a skill saw and cut the flanges off on the outside. Then I took a hole saw and drilled one that fit through the center section, and then one that was the size of my timing gear, and cut that out of it. Then I stuck that in the lathe and spun it down so that it fits through here nicely, which is tight, but it fits. You have to believe me that it fits. Now I can bolt that to the outside, and then this is a cover that goes on the top. I can cut an O-ring groove in there, and then drill and tap holes that I can bolt this cover on there. So it'll look like that. Now I'm a little bit embarrassed because, like this, to make this round, I just basically drew a circle on a flat piece of aluminum it's like 1/4 inch thick. It's nice and meaty. I just cut it with a skill saw so it was close, and then I took it to the belt sander and made it so it was round until it fit that. And this is kind of butchery too, with skill saws outside and whatnot. The neighbors are starting to wonder what that high-pitched screaming is.
But we're building really nice stuff like this, and I'm thinking, I don't know. It might be time to upgrade some tools, like a plasma cutter, and I think we'll be working towards that. I could have cut that plate out in the plasma cutter much quicker than I could have belt sanded it down. It still works. There's always a way to do something, but we are building like really nice stuff. So once the projects are done, I don't have to sink much more money into the projects themselves, because this is like every day is like another $500 on this thing, and parts and things that I need and whatnot. But I think we might be upgrading some tools. But anyway, don't beat me up too much in the comments. There's again, a welder, torches, a skill saw, and a socket set from Princess Auto. Goes a long way. I remember when I built my S10, basically everything was 13 and 15 millimeter. So for the 1/2 inch, instead of buying the whole socket set, I just bought a 13 and a 15 millimeter deep. And I still have those sockets. And I'm reminded I only have 2 chrome 13 and a 15 millimeter sockets, because you do what you can to get the job done, but at some point you do want to work your way up to a better shop, a better working condition, better equipment that you're working on, and better tools. That being said, let's put it together and get that timing cover on there. We're one step closer. Here we go. Okay, so I just took the plate, stuck it in the lathe, and just made a scratch so that all the bolt holes are even, and then I've got just enough meat on the outside that will let me cut a groove for an O-ring on the inside, and I just spaced them apart. So I can drill those out, tap them. So this is the right drill bit for the size of tap. We'll go straight through the plate to line it up, and then through the plate I'll drill a 1/4 inch hole for my Allen bolts. Cut a groove in the lid, and that'll hold an O-ring, and then that'll seal that up nicely. I don't have an O-ring big enough, I just use that for sizing. So we can bolt that on, bolt this cover to the inside of the other cover. I gotta take a shaving off because it's just a bit too thick yet. And then we're done. Here we go. Okay, so that's bolted on. That's the back of it, as long as it doesn't hit the gear without the gasket on it. And it doesn't. So it doesn't hit without the gasket on it. Now if we add the gasket on there, it's just going to bring it that much farther away from the gear. So I'm good. I can take that apart, put the sealant on the back of it, and finally put my front main seal on. Nice. Here we go. Okay, actually I take it back. I made that with a skill saw. That's pretty cool. I don't know, I think I should paint that black though. I gotta get the O-ring for it yet tomorrow. And maybe paint the alternator and this, I don't know. So you still got some gray in there, and I can't really paint the AC compressor. Got some silver down on the suspension. I don't know. We'll see, but anyway, I'm happy with that. Now that that is in place and sealed up, I'm going to have to take it back out again and modify the oil pan, because when I took this off, and I don't know what's going on, whether I had a different oil pan or not. This one was in much better shape, but these brackets can flip. You can flip these brackets upside down, and that would bring the engine ahead another ½ inch, maybe 3/4 inch. But I'm going to need that at the back of the engine, so unfortunately that means modifying the oil pan. So yeah, I'm going to pull that off. Okay, so I pulled the engine out, pulled the oil pan, because that's what was hitting the diff, and I don't understand why. This was going to be a nice quick swap, because everything was just gonna bolt in. It already had a Cummins in it, but I don't know whether the diff is bigger, because now we went with the diff off of the 1 ton rather than the 3/4. So maybe the diff is bigger. I don't know, but regardless, I flipped these mounts back to the way I thought that they were supposed to be, which was having the engine all the way forward as far as we could. So if this doesn't work, then I will have to make new mounts, and I don't want to do that. I did buy new mounts for this, so all the rubbers are good, and they're the polyurethane ones. So we'll drop the cab back down on it again. I don't have to do anything with the pickup tube, so that's good. It clears nice and neat. So we just have to notch basically the corner out of this just to make room for the diff. So I marked before I took it apart. I just went across the back of the oil pan and marked on the frame where it was. Basically we went ahead about 3/4 inch. So if anything, I have to make room for 3/4 inch, but we'll give it a little bit extra. So yeah, let's drop the cab back down again, and that's out of order. I should put the transmission on it so I get the right angle on it too, but I really just want to see this in the engine bay with it closed. So it's just a matter of picking the cab up one more time, not a big deal. And here we go. Okay, it's in there and it looks fantastic, but it can still come ahead more. And I'm wondering, why is my oil pan hitting that axle? And then I thought, well, maybe I still got an old oil pan. I can weld two together. And I did find my old oil pan. I realized it has a lot less capacity than that oil pan. So obviously that one's hitting my axle. So I need to order a new one of these. I'm not gonna reuse that one. It's dirty, it's old, it's rusty. It's been painted over like 3 times and I don't trust it. So I need a VIN number. I'll grab my one from my buddy Dan. He's got like every generation of Dodge in there. So I'll poke my head underneath and grab one from Cummins, and they will only sell me one if I give them a serial number off of the engine plate. This engine plate would be wrong because that's the one out of the school bus. So while I'm doing that, I can go back on the F350 and on the C10. They are coming up to being drivable down the road, so you definitely want to check out that videos, and also make sure that you're still subscribed. Our projects are coming along really nice. It is fantastic coming into the shop, seeing that in there, knowing the C10 runs. The Bronco is close. Got a bunch more parts for it. The Audi's all ready to go. We're ready to rip with that this summer. We got the 55 is going to be ready to fire up by the end of this month. So a lot of good stuff happening, so make sure you don't miss any of it. And get out there and work on it, because if you're not filthy, you're probably just hanging out watching TV, and just put us on in the background on a loop in the TV in your shop. Motivation to get into your shop and work on your stuff. I got to clean the shop and then switch gears, and man, it's going to be a good summer. If you're not filthy, you're not rich. Here we go.